Hello everybody, this is going to be a fun little educational video talking about a tip that I think everyone needs to know for laning, mainly in the side lanes, that I see pretty much everyone at the lower levels doing incorrectly. Even in my games it happens a lot, and I want to talk about making sure you maintain lane equilibrium.
Banana slam jam.
So we're going to talk about briefly the importance of lane equilibrium. So the reason why lane equilibrium is so important is because, generally speaking, for the first 5 minutes of the game, the closer the lane is to your tower, the safer you are. There's a lot less chase distance, meaning that you get to farm underneath your tower safely. If the lane's ever like over here and the creeps are interacting, you can get chased all the way back to your tower. And sometimes, especially against kill heroes like Tiny, Pudge, offlaners like Slardar that have a lot of chase, the slows like Venomancer and Viper, you can get chased for a really long time. So I like to think of the lane as a gradient. If you're happy with the lane being a 10 out of 10 and the lane is atrocious being 1 out of 10, on average, we're looking at like a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sitting right outside their tower is exactly what you don't want it to do. So there's a bunch of different things in the game of Dota that can affect lane equilibrium, and this is going to be a tip that I think a lot of people messes up, and let's go ahead and get into it. So something that often happens, especially on the first creep wave, is that the creep wave is going to meet like this, and somebody, either the carry or the offlaner, defensively aggroes the creeps back, just like you saw the Doom do there. And what happens is, their creeps go to the range creep, your creeps also go to your range creep. This is a very common snapshot of an occurrence in lane, where 2 or 3 melee creeps on one side, could be range creeps too sometimes, 2 or 3 melee creeps on the other side. And this is a moment where it's very easy to lose lane equilibrium. And creeps by default are going to meet here. Like if nobody did anything, the creep wave is going to be right here. So as an offlaner, you often have to do something to mess it up. As a safe laner, you have to make sure whatever the offlaner's doing doesn't mess it up. So what you're going to see here is that these 2 creeps serve as a break for these creeps, meaning that these creeps are going to stop on them. On the other side, the same thing. These 2 creeps are going to serve as a break for these creeps. So if you want the lane to behave as normal, you need these 2 creeps to live about the same time as these 2 creeps. Otherwise, these 2 creeps will let these creeps pass faster, and then the lane will end up meeting further back than you want it to. So notice here, Dooms just devours 1 creep, and then Spectre lets the lane go into tower. This is from a coaching session. So by letting it go into tower, these creeps are going to die first before the Doom's creep dies. So now, since the Dire creeps are going to have more time to walk forward, instead of the creep wave meeting right here, it's going to meet all the way up here. Especially against kill heroes, it's even worse to have the lane be pushed forward, not just because of the chase potential, but there's also a lot of flanking routes. On Dire, you have this potentially. On Radiant, you can come from the side over here, maybe even over here. And it just puts you in a lot of danger, especially your supports when they're squishier than you, if you have like an AA or a CM. So what the lane does by being back here is, notice how it's gotten even worse now. 2 creeps here. These 2 creeps also get dragged into tower range. It's now happened twice. Now that the lane has been poorly managed and it's all the way out here, Pudge is able to do a nice little wraparound where AA is going to get caught out of position. And this is something that would never happen if the lane was back here. So we're seeing, even in a 2K coaching session replay that I did, how much lane equilibrium can get you punished. So this is a mistake. So now we're going to talk about all the methods that you can do to make sure you do this correctly. So here we are in my game. Does this look familiar to you? 2 creeps dragged back, lanes separated. Now it gets dragged to their range. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag this creep all the way back with me. Notice similar thing, less creeps, but same thing. And now, tricks you can do is, I want this creep to stay alive as long as possible, and I want these creeps to take as long as possible to walk down. So if I had ever managed to attack this, notice how Pango was actually attacking these, which is really bad of him. I'm going to aggro the creep over here, which makes the creeps take a little bit longer. And because I manage the lane better than Pango, it's going to meet exactly where I want it to meet again. So a cool little tip that offlaners can do that helps them out a lot, and carries have to be concerned about, is that if they have 2 creeps like this, similar situation about 40 seconds later, they can drag their 2 melee creeps with aggro to their own range. And as a carry, ideally, you don't want to miss this XP. Even if the guy denies it, you're getting half the experience rather than 0%. So if you as a carry notice this happening, you can always try to walk yourself forward a bit. You can aggro these creeps with you, if need be. And you can walk up and make sure you get the XP. So here is another example at 4:11 in the same game where the creeps are separated. This rule applies to any time the creeps are separated. Notice how there's 3 of my melee creeps and 3 of his melee creeps. So here, we're going to see that Pango gets forced to drag it into tower by my AA, which is something you should always try to do if possible. But what I'm going to do when it goes into my tower is drag this creep outside of tower, which is something you can always do. And then I'm going to aggro it again upwards, so my creeps chase it a bit. And every little thing you do matters, so the lane's going to meet here rather than maybe up here. And then now, because the lane's meeting further forward, Pango has to put himself in more danger. Imagine if the lane's right here and Pango could just like chill over here and be in experience range. But he can't because the lane's so far back. It allows me to go aggressive on him when he's low resources. In the last example, this is me in the off lane. Same thing as before. Notice how there's 3 of my creeps up here, 2 of his creeps over here. So what I'm going to do is a cool little trick we saw from Topson a little while back, where we're going to go to my player perspective. And I am going to aggro the Luna and drag the creeps over here. And then I'm going to aggro the mid and drag them over again. Is that enough? No. I'm going to do it again! We drag the aggro, pull it over, and this whole time, the Luna's been pushing the wave, and now the lane's all the way back here, rather than being any further forward. And since I'm a hero with kill potential from a long-range slow, it makes Luna go out of position, and he does it stupidly. Now he gets galed, and he's going to die with my level 3 power spike. I think he might get denied here. No, he does not. First blood. So, this is a situation that was purely created by that creep aggro, which forced the lane to be further back. The whole point of this video is to teach you guys that anything you can do, ask yourself, any little trick you can do, aggro, pulling outside a tower, whatever, that gets the lane to be near your tower, whether you're an off laner or a safe laner, is going to win you lanes. Whether or not it's because you win the trades, or whether or not it's because you get kill threat. As a hero like PL, it's much more about winning the trades, as you saw me going aggressive on the Pangolier in that brief moment. Even though my support was feeding, I still had top CS at 5 minutes. Or in a lane like this where it can lead to kills. Super important thing, and it happens all the time where people split up the creeps and they don't think about mirroring what the opponent's doing. It's basically which person can make the creeps survive longer. Hope you guys learned a lot from this video. Something I think you should be able to wreck lower MMRs with in your games, and look forward to seeing you guys apply it. Hope that I don't have to see it ever again in a coaching session or a replay. Please hit that like button, subscription button, and all these other things that I look like I'm always held hostage, even though I just want to say them because I'm supposed to. Thanks, guys. Bye.